it just shows you like how much of a great person he is too, and it just makes you want to work that much harder for him.
Well, just being around someone who is, if he's not the GOAT, I mean, is there a GOAT? I don't know. It might be Mighty Mouse. It might be John Jones. It could be Khabib. It's in the there's a conversation to be had for many fighters when they're in their prime. Like, but Khabib's the first one to really retire completely undefeated, where you can make the argument that even the rounds he lost, if he lost like one round against Conor and maybe one round at another point in his career, they were barely. They were like coasting rounds where he just like was refreshing himself and then comes back and dominates.
Yeah,
I mean, so if you're training with a guy like that, like, fuck, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too. Is, you know, one time we were training in Vegas, and I have a Moroccan kickboxer that I trained with, and we were down there training with Habib's team, and he's sparring one of their guys, and you know, he's a great kickboxer, and their guy's obviously a great grappler, but he has striking. So the first round, he's taking my guy down, beating him on the ground, and the second and third round, he's like, let me strike with him a little bit because the ground is kind of like too easy. So he's striking with him. My guy's landing hard kicks, hard punches, hard knees, and then Khabib just like stops him and like snaps at him like, you took him down, you treated him like a baby. Like, why are you going to sit there and kickbox with a kickboxer? I don't care if this is practice. I don't care if this is sparring. The goal is to win. If you want to look stupid, you want to be dumb, then go against the plan. Go against the route that's going to help you win. He's like, and that, like, open your eyes, too. It's like, he knows the path to victory. All their guys know the path to victory. It's hard grappling, heavy grappling, and strength on the ground. It's like, why are you going to be dumb and spar with a Moroccan kickboxer for and
Ego.
take that damage? Yeah, ego.
Yeah,
and
ego's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
It really is. So many guys just decide to trade with people for no reason, and they wind up getting lit up when they really should be taking the guy down.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what a lot of these newer guys coming up. I was training with the Ohio State wrestler. He was in Vegas visiting, and he was like gonna transition into MMA. And he was telling me like, yeah, you know, I like this gym, but you know, in wrestling, I'm killing the guys, but then I don't know nothing about sparring. So on sparring day, I'm telling these guys, like, you know, I'm still learning. And then he said, everybody's trying to throw hard at me because I'm killing them in wrestling. And I'm like, you got to find a gym where the guys don't have egos, where they're going to try to help you build yourself. Because if you're sparring hard and you don't really know how to take a punch or anything, you're only going to hurt yourself.
Right, and you're going to get your ticket punched too many times. And then by the time you get into fights, I mean, there's quite a few guys that I know that by the time they have their first or second pro fight, they've already had 6, 7 concussions in the gym. You know, and like, man, like you're already at a deficit.
Yeah, I look at when I go to gyms and I see guys like they're laughing about it, like, oh, I knocked Chris out yesterday, man, and I'm looking at it like why is that what you guys do? And it changes my mentality because when I'm first coming up, I used to would spar like 15-minute rounds, just nonstop boxing, and now when I think back to it, I'm like, it was so stupid because I know how to take a punch. Why am I going to take a punch at practice when I'm not getting paid for it? Like, build the skills. And if you find the right training partners, and I feel like I have like the perfect training partners where we spar super light and we're still getting that same movement, that same fluidity with the striking, with the speed, with everything, but we're not putting that extra oomph on it. And if you don't have any guys like that in your gym, I think a lot of these guys are going to have shorter careers or they're going to get broken a lot earlier than they should have.
It makes a big difference with timing, too. Like, you really develop timing when you can get a guy who's willing to spar light with you, because then you're not thinking about the consequences of missing or getting countered, and you could really just develop that ingrained timing. And occasionally hard sparring.
Yeah.
But hard sparring all the time, I mean, the early days of the UFC, guys would just fight. They would go into the ring and in their whatever their gym was, and they would beat the fucking shit out of each other. And somewhere along the line, people realize, like, hey, you can only sustain this for so long. You're not going to have a long career doing this, and you're not going to reach the best of your potential. Like, when you look at all the variables that take place in a person reaching their full potential, I think one of the things you're doing that's really good is going to different places. I think that has a big factor. That's a big factor. And being exposed yourself to the guys like Firas Zahabi or Khabib or all these other different minds that can give you a different approach, and you can take a little bit here and a little bit there. But also, it's like being smart in your training and knowing when to push and when not, when you're being a bitch and when you're actually being a meathead because you're just going too hard and you're fucking your body up.
Yeah, and a lot of guys have to learn that the hard way, where it takes them like, oh man, you know, when you're coming up, you're fighting for pennies. You're not fighting for anything. I used to fight for $150, and I'll tell my family, no, I'm making like 15,000. And yeah, like I would sit there and lie to them, but it's because you have that dream, you have that push, and I had an end goal where I knew I was gonna make it, or I felt like I could have made it. So when you gotta have, I think, leaders in the gym room that are gonna teach you the right things, because if you have those guys in those bigger gyms, I feel like there's so many UFC fighters in there, 20, 30, 40 guys. Yeah, it's great training partners, great things, but if it's a guy like trying to come up, on the come up or anything like that, they're going to use you as a body for them, and they're going to beat you up. And who are you going to talk to? You're going to talk to the coach, but the coach is like, well, this guy pays me more, so I'm going to stick with him. So you just go in there, give him some rounds, keep it quiet. Like nobody really cares what you have to say. So I think smaller gyms are better for that. And for me, I had my coach, Lewis Taylor. He was a fighter, and when I came in, I was 23 years old when I first started fighting, and he was already a veteran in the game. He was in it, so like I was following his footsteps, and he was teaching me all the small things. Don't go to that boxing gym. What are you gonna go to that boxing gym for? Boxers hate MMA fighters. They're gonna just try to knock you out. And you know, I would sit there, go on my own a little bit. You're like, you know, let me just see how it is, because ego. Then you go over there, and they're just trying to knock you out, and it's like, what did I gain from that? It's just, it's hard sparring, but it was like, I didn't really gain any skill level. I gained toughness, but it's not really going to help me when I need better footwork. I need better defense. I need better there. I was still on the come up learning. So just getting beat up is not going to help me. Yeah,
the small gym versus the large gym, that's the big debate. Because some people think a place like American Top Team, they have dormitories. You got all these guys coming in from Russia and Morocco and all these places, all parts of the world. They're coming to American Top Team, and you know, you might get some sparring with some fucking killers. But how many coaches are really paying attention to you when you're just a guy who just started out there? Is this a good place to develop? Are you running the risk of being injured because you're just going to war every day, versus a small gym where you get individualized attention and people are really paying attention to you? But then it's like,